You're a reasonable person, most of the time. And it's 1:40 in the afternoon, you skipped lunch, someone asks you a completely normal question, and you nearly take their head off. An hour and a sandwich later, you feel terrible and apologize. You weren't a bad person. You were running low on a single chemical. To find out which one, and why your body weaponizes your own mood, meet the most embarrassing emergency alarm you own. For years, Hangry got waved away as an excuse, and scientists actually tested it. In one study, married couples were each given a little voodoo doll of their husband or wife, and every night for 3 weeks they stuck in pins for how annoyed they felt. The researchers also measured their blood sugar before bed. The result was beautifully petty. The lower someone's blood sugar, the more pins went into the doll. And it wasn't just the doll. In the same study, the hungrier, lower sugar people later chose to blast their partner with louder, longer bursts of unpleasant noise. Hanger measured first in pins, then in decibels. So no, you're not being dramatic. It's a documented state. Here's why it happens. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns around 20% of your energy. You might remember that from last episode. And it's a fussy little engine. Under normal conditions, it runs almost entirely on glucose, sugar in your blood, and it keeps almost no reserves of its own. Your muscles can store fuel. Your brain basically lives paycheck to paycheck. So skip a meal, and the tank gets low fast. When fuel runs low, your brain starts rationing, and it does not ration fairly. The leading idea is that the expensive, modern part, the prefrontal cortex, the bit that handles patience, impulse control, and not saying the thing, is among the first to get throttled. The older parts that handle threat and emotion stay fully powered. Scientists still argue about exactly how much glucose self-control needs. But the lived experience is brutally consistent. Low fuel quietly turns down the volume on your manners while leaving your temper at full blast. The grown-up in your head, the one who normally catches the rude comment a half second before it leaves your mouth, has briefly clocked out, and nobody is covering the shift. And it gets louder. When your blood sugar drops, your body treats it as an emergency and releases stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, to shove stored energy back into your blood. Those are the exact same chemicals you'd dump if a predator walked into the room. This is fight or flight, except the threat is your own empty stomach. Your body can't fully tell the difference between I'm hungry and I'm about to be eaten, so it quietly arms you for a fight that doesn't exist. The nearest target just happens to be whoever's talking to you. It also releases something called neuropeptide Y, which is tangled up in both appetite and aggression, though that link is more promising lead than close case. Either way, hunger is chemically a close cousin of rage. So that's the machinery. Low fuel, stress hormones, the polite part clocking out. But machinery isn't emotive. None of it explains why a body would be built to act this way on purpose. Here's why. For almost all of human history, low blood sugar wasn't a minor inconvenience. It was a countdown. Remember the last 2 episodes? Food was rare, and the next meal was never guaranteed. An animal that got calm and sleepy when it ran low would simply quietly die. An animal that got urgent, irritable, and impossible to ignore got up and found food. Hangry is an alarm. It's annoying on purpose, because annoying is what finally makes you act. Calm is a luxury for animals that know where their next meal is coming from. Your ancestors did not have that luxury, so evolution handed them a built-in nag that simply would not shut up until the problem was solved. And it was never only about you. In a small group, one person's hunger was the whole group's problem, and a short fuse was a loud, unmissable way to broadcast it. Feed this one now before it does something stupid, which is also why you aim at the people closest to you, and it isn't random. On some ancient level, your body runs a quick risk assessment and files the complaint with whoever is least likely to walk out over it. Strangers get a polite smile. The people who love you get the raw, unfiltered firmware. And if it's any comfort, you are not uniquely awful. Hunger cranks up the aggression dial across the entire animal kingdom. Hungry babies don't get sad. They get furious because crying harder is the only lever they've got. Dogs get snappy, fish get territorial, and even fruit flies pick more fights when food runs short. Scientists have actually measured that one. In fact, that touchy, territorial fish is a familiar face. It's the same 500 million-year-old ancestor we keep blaming for everything. and it was getting hangry over a scrap of food before it even had hands to throw a punch. It never patched the alarm out. It just passed it down all the way to you. But here's the honest part that just eat something version skips. Hangry isn't a simple sugar gauge with anger on the other end. Your brain has to interpret the signal, and it doesn't always read it as hunger. Research suggests you're far more likely to feel low fuel as anger when you're already stressed, distracted, or sitting in a situation that hands you something to be annoyed at. Same low blood sugar, completely different label. Picture the same drop in glucose in two people. One is on a calm afternoon and just thinks, I should eat. The other is stuck in traffic, late, with a buzzing phone, and is now fully convinced that everyone on the road was put there to personally ruin their life. Identical chemistry. The story around it is what turned it into rage. This part is still being worked out, but it's why one trick genuinely seems to help. The moment you notice, wait, I'm not actually mad, I'm just hungry, the feeling often loosens its grip. You correctly named what your body was clumsily trying to say. And about the reflex to fix it with the fastest, sweetest thing you can grab, it's trickier than it feels. For some people, a quick hit of sugar spikes blood glucose and then drops it below where it started an hour later, which can leave you, yes, hangry again. The body seems to prefer steady fuel over a roller coaster. We're explaining what's going on here, not handing you a meal plan. Your nutritionist exists. We are a cartoon ape. So here's the full, slightly insulting picture. You have a brain that mostly runs on sugar with almost no reserve tank. A self-control module that browns out first. A stress system that mistakes an empty stomach for a predator. And an evolved alarm that turns all of it into a foul mood. Every piece of it wired by a body that was certain the next meal might not come. Every one of those was a feature that kept your great-great-great-grandparents alive. Bundle them all together, drop them into a world with a sandwich 20 feet away, and they make you snap at the one person who just asked how your day was going. So the next time you snap at someone over absolutely nothing and feel like a monster about it 10 minutes after eating, go a little easy on yourself. And maybe on them. You are being a bad person. You were a Stone Age survival machine whose fuel light came on, trying to run a motion management software it couldn't afford to power. You're not broken. You're just extremely chemically honest about being hungry. And the fish, the one that's been hangry since before it had hands, naturally never apologized for passing it down. Subscribe for more honest reasons your body turns on you. And maybe eat first, argue later. Next episode, why coffee works and why eventually it stops.